Welcome to Tamer Bowling Video Ball Reviews. Hey Tamer Bowling fans, we are now on Patreon. For exclusive content, please join us at patreon.com/tamerbowling. Today we're testing the new Hammer Ripped Pearl. We're testing on a 40-foot medium house pattern and a 39-foot Don Carter sport pattern. First impressions of the Hammer Ripped Pearl, it's clearly the Goldilocks of the Ripped family. For value, we gave the Ripped Pearl a B+. It one-ups the others in the lineup in terms of bang for the buck. It's the most usable and versatile in my opinion. That's good value even for a top-line ball. Overall, we gave it a B+ on house shot and B on sport shot. We're familiar now with the Ripped family of balls. These are heavy rolling cores with strong covers. On house shots, these balls are a bit lumbering, slow reacting to dry boards. And the Ripped hybrid had this kind of dance where the core is turning over rapidly while the cover is giving it some length. So there was some mid-lane read at the expense of the back end. With the Pearl, there's not so much of that fight, at least not as much. The ball is still wanting to read, but not as early as the hybrid, and nowhere near as early as the huge snow tire that's the solid. The back end is definitely stronger on this one than the others. The core is still one that wants to stand up, so you will not see skid flip really. I think it'll help bowlers who can play more direct as the core rolls heavy and you don't have to expend side to side energy. This is important. Despite the back end, I still had a better reaction keeping the breakpoint 7 or in and not getting this ball way out into the dry as the core starts up early and I wind up draining all the energy out of it by the time it gets to the pins. Keeping the breakpoint in also meant getting deeper as the ball does charge when it's able to retain the energy. James is next and he recently joined our testing staff. You can see he's a step up in rev rate. For him, he seems to have more or less the same reaction. He also felt that the previous Rip balls were a lot for a typical house shot. It was clear from the first couple of balls the Pearl would be more usable without the fight, as I mentioned. He could play the ball between third and fourth arrow, and if you watch closely, you'll see what I meant about the ball reaction. When he could play it more direct, so closer to the third arrow, he took advantage of that heavy roll for excellent drive through the pins. And he could still carry closer to the fourth arrow, but got more of the lighter hit type of carry. Ultimately, he felt like this ball gave him some room, and he could see using the Ripped Pearl on house. Here you can see the Ripped hybrid just lumbering a bit more with slower reaction to dry. And compared to the solid, you can clearly see the kind of earlier roll that ball generates. Shaun was next, and usually he's totally happy with Pearl ASIMs. It's not difficult to see him be successful with this ball. However, his margin of error definitely seemed to shrink compared to James. I think that's fundamentally because of the difference in styles. James has around 19 degrees axis tilt, while Shaun has probably 7 or less. The ball stands up harder for Shaun, which means less continuation, or at least more sensitivity to release variations. Ultimately, similar to James, he found the hardest hitting reaction being close to the third arrow, really allowing this ball to kind of explode through the pins. Finally, Bryan is up and he had a decent look. It seems like the ball matches up pretty well for higher tilt bowlers, allowing it to get down lane easily and allowing the torquey core to store more energy. Bryan found the pocket area easily with the Ripped Pearl. The ball isn't what I would call snappy, but strong enough that Bryan can't go very direct. And with that comes some soft return towards the pins when he opens up the angles a little bit. And this is the case where Bryan would actually like a bit more surface to get the ball started a little earlier for a stronger charge. For sport shot, we tested on the 39-foot PBA Don Carter pattern. The ball might seem initially, shinier than the out-of-box surface indicates, but the reaction I saw on sport made it clear that the out-of-box finish is a decent matchup. It's not so skittish and has a smooth but strong transition. It really wasn't difficult at all for me to use on this sport pattern. The Ripped Solid seemed to be a better matchup with the earlier roll, which went through the pins better. The hybrid actually just seemed to take away something from both, surprisingly. Just too smooth to come back from the same breakpoint as the Pearl. James had a pretty straightforward look with the Rip Pearl. He gets going up the 4th arrow out to 8 and the ball charges back perfectly. Again, his look in this case was a bit better than mine and even more defined response to drive. Here, Bryan had a better look than he had on the house shot. Now with the sharper backends, he could give the ball some belly and have it drive nicely. It's all about matching up. Final thoughts. In the end, the Hammer Rip Pearl is going to be the most versatile of the ripped balls, hands down. It still uses the same heavy rolling core, but having the cleaner cover really helps make this one very clearly store more energy, even when the final out-of-box surface is 3,000. You could probably go even higher, like 4,000 or polish and get more backhand, but I personally would like to get it to lane shine on its own, where it could be a great house shot ball if you're matched up.
I need to tell you to what Tamer Bowling Ball review that.
Oh, look at the messenger! AARP messenger!